In 2024, NVIDIA shipped over $60 billion worth of AI chips. Google bought them, Amazon bought them, Microsoft bought them, Meta, OpenAI, Anthropic. Every single AI company on Earth bought them. NVIDIA's data center revenue grew 217% year over year. Their stock became one of the most valuable on the planet. Jensen Huang became a tech icon, wearing his signature leather jacket at every keynote. But here's what nobody's telling you. Behind closed doors, the biggest tech companies in the world are desperately trying to get out. Not because NVIDIA's chips are bad, because they're too good. Because NVIDIA doesn't just sell hardware, they sell dependency. And the cost of that dependency is becoming unbearable. This is the story of how NVIDIA built the most profitable trap in tech history, and why even Google and Amazon can't escape it. The monopoly. NVIDIA doesn't dominate AI because of silicon. They dominate because of software, CUDA, a programming platform that's been the default for GPU computing since 2007. Most people think NVIDIA wins because they make the fastest chips. That's only part of the story. NVIDIA wins because nearly everything in modern AI is built around CUDA. Researchers learn it early. Frameworks prioritize it. Benchmarks assume it. PyTorch, TensorFlow, JAX, they all run best on NVIDIA hardware, not by accident, but by design. For nearly 2 decades, NVIDIA invested billions into developer tools, libraries, documentation, and academic partnerships. They trained an entire generation of engineers on their platform long before AI became mainstream. By the time large-scale AI took off, the ecosystem was already locked in. Today, most major AI models are trained on NVIDIA hardware, and once your infrastructure is built around CUDA, switching becomes painfully expensive. Code needs rewriting, performance drops, tooling breaks, engineers need retraining, progress slows. So companies don't switch, they keep buying NVIDIA. That's the trap. Because this isn't just about buying chips, it's about paying rent on an ecosystem. NVIDIA's margins reflect that. While other chip makers compete on hardware, NVIDIA monetizes the entire AI stack. They're not just selling GPUs, they're controlling the platform. The escape attempt. Google was the first to see the problem. In 2016, they unveiled the TPU, Tensor Processing Unit, a custom chip built specifically for AI workloads, designed in-house by some of the smartest hardware engineers in the world. And on paper, it looked like an NVIDIA killer. For certain operations, TPUs were faster than NVIDIA's flagship chips, more power efficient, better performance per watt, cheaper to operate at scale. Google claimed they were getting better results training their models, better inference speeds for search and YouTube recommendations, lower costs across the board. Finally, someone had built something better than NVIDIA. There was just one problem. You can't buy one. TPUs only work inside Google Cloud. They're optimized for Google's version of TensorFlow. They run Google's specific workloads, Google's frameworks, Google's infrastructure, which means Google didn't break free from NVIDIA. They just built their own cage. A very efficient cage. Google runs enormous amounts of their AI infrastructure on TPUs now. Gmail's spam detection, Google Photos' image recognition, YouTube's recommendation algorithm. They've reduced costs significantly for their own operations, but a cage nonetheless. Because if you're not running your AI inside Google Cloud, TPUs are completely useless to you. And here's the kicker. Even Google still buys NVIDIA chips, billions of dollars worth, because enterprises won't migrate their entire stack to TPUs. Because flexibility beats raw performance when you're building infrastructure at global scale. Google proved you could build something competitive with NVIDIA, but they also proved that building the chip isn't enough. You need the ecosystem, and that takes decades. Amazon watched Google's TPU experiment and learned a different lesson. Don't try to beat NVIDIA on performance, just reduce the cost. In 2018, they started building Inferentia. Then came Trainium. Then graviton processors with AI acceleration, chips designed for one specific goal: cutting the cost of running AI workloads inside AWS, not beating NVIDIA on benchmarks, not creating the next platform, not trying to replace CUDA, just making it cheaper to run inference and training for their own services and cost-conscious customers. And to Amazon's credit, it's working. For their workloads, Alexa runs on Inferentia chips now. Amazon's recommendation engines, their fraud detection systems, search ranking, supply chain optimization, all move to custom silicon. They've reduced their NVIDIA dependency for internal operations significantly, saved hundreds of millions in chip costs. But walk into any AWS data center, and you'll still see rows of NVIDIA GPUs. Because when enterprise customers want to train models, they request NVIDIA. When startups want to run inference, they want CUDA compatibility. When researchers need compute, they specify NVIDIA instances. Amazon built an alternative, but it's an alternative for Amazon, not for the market. Because Amazon isn't trying to win a performance war. They're trying to negotiate better margins with NVIDIA. They're trying to say, we have options, so don't raise prices too high. It's leverage, not liberation. The reality. Here's the uncomfortable truth that nobody in Silicon Valley wants to say out loud. Google and Amazon aren't trying to beat NVIDIA. They're trying to survive without being completely dependent on one supplier. There's a massive difference. Custom chips give them leverage in negotiations, optionality in their infrastructure, the ability to say, if NVIDIA's prices get unreasonable, we have alternatives, but they're not real alternatives. Because NVIDIA's moat isn't hardware performance, it's the ecosystem they've built over 2 decades. It's every AI researcher who learned CUDA in graduate school. It's every startup that builds their entire product on NVIDIA's platform. It's every benchmark optimized for NVIDIA architecture. Breaking that ecosystem would require one of 2 things: either something that's NVIDIA compatible but dramatically cheaper, or something so revolutionary, so much better, that people would willingly rewrite millions of lines of code to use it. Google's TPUs aren't that. Amazon's Trainium isn't that. They're good chips, genuinely impressive engineering, but they're escape hatches, not exits. They're insurance policies, not replacements. The future. This is the real battle happening in AI infrastructure right now. It's not about chip performance. It's not about transistor counts or memory bandwidth. It's NVIDIA versus the hyperscalers, hardware versus platform control, the ecosystem versus the alternatives. And NVIDIA is winning because they understood something fundamental about technology. The platform always beats the product, always. Windows didn't win because it was the best operating system. It won because of software compatibility. iPhone didn't win because it had the best hardware. It won because of the App Store ecosystem. AWS didn't win because they had the fastest servers. They won because of the breadth of services and integrations. CUDA is beating objectively better chips because of the ecosystem. And that ecosystem gets stronger every day. Every new AI researcher trained on CUDA, every new paper published using NVIDIA GPUs, every new startup that builds on their platform, the moat gets wider. Google and Amazon know this. Microsoft knows this. Meta knows this. That's why they're all investing billions into custom silicon, not to replace NVIDIA tomorrow, not even next year, but to create optionality for the future, to build leverage in negotiations, to develop expertise in chip design, to ensure that 5 years from now, 10 years from now, they're not completely at NVIDIA's mercy. Because in technology, dependency is death. Single points of failure are existential risks. And right now, the entire AI industry has a single point of failure. One company controls the platform. One company sets the prices. One company decides who gets chips first during shortages. That's not a sustainable position for any business, not for Google, not for Amazon, not for anyone building the future of artificial intelligence. So they build, They invest. They hire chip designers. They create alternatives, not because they think they'll win, but because they can't afford not to try. So when you see headlines about Google's latest TPU or Amazon's new AI accelerator, understand what's really happening. This isn't a performance competition. This isn't about who makes the fastest chip. It's about survival. It's about control. It's about not being completely dependent on a single supplier who controls your margins, your roadmap, and your future. They're not trying to beat NVIDIA. They're trying to survive without it. And that's a very different game, one that might take another decade to play out, but one they have no choice but to play.